Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Grant Mudge from the Notre Dame Shakespeare Festival, and I have the rare and special privilege of introducing my principal colleague to you this evening, Scott Jackson, who's the Mary Irene Ryan Executive Director at Shakespeare at Notre Dame, the founding Executive Director of Shakespeare at Notre Dame, for his class on Kundalini, and I'm going to miss the second one, Scott. Give it to me.
Pranayama.
Pranayama, thank you. Pranayama for the actor. It's the final actor training workshop in our online series of offerings for 2020. We have a few more performance options and another scholarly conversation coming up in the weeks ahead. But this is the final training one, and so it's a nice way to close it out with Scott Jackson, who has, by the way, I'll just include to you, performed Shakespeare Under the Midnight Sun out in Alaska, and also performed Shakespeare in Prague in the Czech Republic. He's an actor as well as an executive director and a director of theater and a terrific teacher. And I'm not going to spend too terribly much more time, aside from saying that I'm very grateful to you for doing this. Thank you. I know that the students are going to take away quite a lot from it. And I'll invite you folks to see us either at shakespeare.nd.edu to look for upcoming classes or for upcoming performances, and you'll see them too on our YouTube page as well. So here are your students, Scott, and thanks again for doing this.
Thank you, Grant. So, hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I guess this is a session on Kundalini and Pranayama for the actor. So this is kind of a strange marriage a little bit in terms of bringing in a yoga discipline, particularly Kundalini, into the actor training framework. But it's something that I've discovered. I'm currently pursuing my MFA from the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama in actor training, actually. And one of the key discoveries that I've made within my, 30 years within the theatrical realm, and specifically as an actor, was that we have all this training in terms of technique, acting, voice, movement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we really don't have classes on well-being. We walk into an acting studio, and the opinions are subjective. Whatever constitutes the truth is subjective. Whether I did a good performance of that monologue today or a bad one, it's kind of out of my hands. It's all subjective. And so those insecurities and those stresses really start to tax the system almost in a traumatic way. And this goes just specifically into the acting studio and not even into our larger lives, where we're all embodying trauma to one degree or another. And so how can we find a method where we're able not to say, I'm going to cure this trauma right now, but I'm able to say, there it is, and I don't need this right now. I'm going to put this to the side, and I'm going to get on with the work of the moment in front of me. Added to that is the complication of the observed circumstance as well. We stand in front of, whether it's 5 people or 5,000 people, the stress of that performance, the waves of that energy of the observed circumstance are also a stress that we're dealing with, along with the stress of the character and the crisis of the moment, whatever play it is you might be performing at that moment, as well as you as a person and what you're bringing into that space as well. So since, I started teaching acting, I don't know, 10, 15, whatever years ago, one of the things that I've really tried to pursue and bring into the acting studio is this idea of neutral self, neutral mind, neutral body. How do we achieve it? How do we get there? And for me personally, and I can only speak from my journey, but I've found Kundalini Yoga to be this great liberator in terms of helping me become present consistently. So it doesn't matter what day I've had before call time, I can walk in to a rehearsal room, do some Kundalini yoga, and find myself at a consistent place of neutrality, both mentally, emotionally, physically. And how that happens is Because what we're doing within Kundalini that's a little bit different than any of the other yoga disciplines that you may have come across, like Hatha or Ashtanga or Vinyasa, they all have a certain concentration on mindfulness. We hear this idea of mindfulness a lot in different yoga disciplines. Kundalini, that's really what it's all about. Kundalini is all about disrupting the mental chatter that we have in our mind, that self-criticism. You know, when you're on stage and you say to be or not to be, or you have to say to be or not to be, and you're like, how am I going to do this, you know, different than anyone else? And you're putting all these stresses and anxieties onto yourself. And what I found with Kundalini is it disrupts that chatter. It allows me to just remain focused and present and in the moment. And at the same time, what I'm doing is I'm strengthening my nervous system. I'm strengthening my immune system. I'm strengthening the lymphatic system, which is where all the junk, it's like the gutters on the house of your body, right? So we don't think about these systems a lot, and particularly the endocrine system. So the nervous system and the endocrine system act on behalf of one another. So if you're facing a moment of stress and you go into a fight or flight reaction, it's generally because your amygdala has picked up a threat, whether it's real or perceived, and it's told your pituitary gland right here, your third eye, which is where the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland meet, says, oh, danger, danger, danger. Hormones are secreted from the pituitary gland that go down to the adrenal gland. Suddenly you have epinephrine and you have cortisol released in the system and you're shaken and you're in a fight or flight reaction. So what Kundalini does is it conditions that endocrine system. It conditions the nervous system to actually go into what's known as a rest and digest state as opposed to a fight or flight state, right? And if we look at the autonomic nervous system, it's really separated into two parts. You have the sympathetic branch and the parasympathetic branch. The sympathetic branch is action, and the parasympathetic is about relaxation and passivity. So I think all of us can relate to, after we've drank 6 cups of coffee, you know, in 2 hours trying to get ourselves ready to work or whatever, and suddenly you're in this hyper-adrenalized state, we can all kind of relate to that anxiety. And what Kundalini does is it pushes us more toward the parasympathetic side so that we're actually in a place that's more of a balance between the two that's called shunya. So Kundalini is thousands of years old. No one quite knows how old it is. It's called the mother of all yoga. And it concerns itself chiefly with, like I said, conditioning these bodily functions and systems. But also, there's a core belief in undiscovered a well of energy that lies at the base of the spine, in the 4th vertebrae and in the sacrum, in that area. And a lot of these exercises that we're going to do today, because Kundalini is comprised of meditation, mantra, breath work, pranayama, as well as mantra. And so what we're going to do is we're going to follow what's called a kriya, which is a set of exercises that it's basically like cooking a cake, right? So you gotta have the baking soda or the baking powder. I'm not a baker, so I don't know. But you gotta have this much flour. You gotta have these many eggs, this much milk, in order for the cake to actually be a good cake, right? So what we're doing is allowing the freedom of this subtle energy to rise up the spine. And so what I'm going to do right now is just share my screen right now. For those of you who may not, let me see, where'd that go? That's not showing up for me, so let me just see here. Pardon me for just a second. Oops, let me bring this up here. Here we go. So what I'd like to show you here are the 7 chakras that we work on in Kundalini Yoga. You have down here at the very bottom, the Muladhara. This is called the root chakra. And this is the seat of insecurities. It's the seat of addiction, honestly. And it's important to think about addiction as not just being, I'm addicted to coffee. I'm addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to the usual addictions. Our habits are also ingrained in that as well. A habit of control, which I certainly have. Habits of procrastination, these kinds of things all reside all the way down here in this root chakra. Then we work our way up to the 2nd chakra, the Savastana, which is more about creation, right? So if we look at the Muladhara, it's courage, security. The 2nd chakra is all about sexuality and creativity. The 3rd chakra, the Manipura, is all about manifestation and action, the fire of the belly, so to speak. The 4th is the heart chakra, the Anahata. The 5th is the throat chakra, which is the truth. The 6th, the 3rd eye, wisdom. And then the 7th is bliss. So what we do in Kundalini is we generally work each of these chakras individually in order to open up that flow of energy from the base of the spine all the way through to the top of the head there. Now, what's interesting about this is that each chakra generally corresponds to a gland in the endocrine system as well. So if we're looking at the root chakra, you've got, it's generally more concerned with the spleen and elimination, right? So a lot of the work that we're going to be doing today will be focused on the lower belly, like the navel down and all the way into the legs, right? The 2nd chakra is more associated with like the testes in the male, the ovaries in the female. The 3rd chakra is all the adrenal glands and the pancreas and digestion and action. The 4th chakra, the heart chakra, is the thymus, which is actually the seat of the immune system. The 5th chakra is the thyroid and the parathyroid glands, which control our metabolism. The 6th chakra, the 3rd eye, as I said, is the pituitary gland, which is the master gland of all and the seat of inner wisdom. And then the pineal gland, which is tucked in the middle of the brain, is the 7th chakra, the crown chakra, which actually releases serotonin and which converts to melatonin at night. So it keeps us awake, it keeps us asleep, keeps us balanced in the brain as well. So I'm just going to go ahead, since I've got my screen up right now. There's a couple different mantras that we're going to be exploring today. These first 2 are just how we open a traditional Kundalini practice. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. That's I bow to the creative wisdom. I bow to the golden chain of Kundalini gurus who have come before us. We chant this and the next mantra for protection. We generally repeat this 3 times at the top of a Kundalini yoga class. The 2nd is Adgare Name, Jugadgare Name, Satgare Name, Siri Guru Deve Name. So I bow to the primal wisdom. I bow to the wisdom through the ages. I bow to the true wisdom. I bow to the great transparent wisdom within. So that's how we're going to open today. Then we're going to be doing a lot of exercises for a while, and then we're going to do what's called the curtain kriya. And this is going to be an 11-minute meditation, Satanama. And I'll describe a little bit more of the form when we get to it, actually in the practice. But Satanama is essentially the cycle of life. From Sa is the infinity, Ta is life, Na is death, Ma is rebirth. And so we're going to just be repeating that in all different kinds of ways for a good 11-minute mantra meditation. And then we will end, we always close with Sat Nam. And that is truth is my name. Truth is my identity. And I wanted to bring this one up because as we go through this practice, you're going to hear me saying, inhale this way, exhale that way, or in like a definitive rhythm. And I want you to keep in mind, Sat Nam is a great way to disrupt the mental chatter as you're going through these exercises. Sat as you're inhaling, Nam as you're exhaling. Sat Nam, Sat Nam. And it keeps your mind focused in a way that is not chastising yourself for not staying focused, right? Someone told me once, and I believe him, that if your mind doesn't wander as you're doing mindfulness exercises, you should go to the hospital. Because the process of mindfulness is all about just redirecting, constantly redirecting our thoughts onto our intention, or in this case, onto a mantra like Sat Nam. So keep that in mind as we work through some of these different exercises. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Perfect. Perfect. Great. So I'm just going to launch into these exercises. I'm going to allow you to just make observations of your own. If you want to have a piece of paper and a pen next to you to write down questions and things, like I said, I'm here as long as you want me to be after we finish this session. So please just hold your questions to the end, and I'll get to them just as much as I can. I really want to delve more into how this is an effective technique for actor training. So there's two exercises that I want to explain before we get into the actual practice. The first is the breath of fire, and then the second is the Mula Bandh. So the Mula Bandh, I'll start with that. The Mula Bandh is a lock down, at the root chakra, which is around the anus, right? It's our root to the ground. And kind of a signature part of Kundalini is to draw the energy up the spine. We have to push this with not just our diaphragm, but also by raising the pelvic floor. So that's like squeezing the anus, the sex muscles and everything up. And what this does as an actor as well is it gives you a floor on which to bounce air out of. Yeah. And I'll talk more about that when we get to the end of class. But if you could just take a moment, so, since it's something that we don't do very often, but just sit with your spine straight, take a deep breath in, down, a nice big belly breath, and just lift. See how my whole body just lifted as I did that. Just lift and hold that. And release. And as we get to the moments between different exercises, I'll ask you to incorporate the root lock, the Mula Bandh, and that's what I'm talking about there. Now, the breath of fire is another signature Kundalini breath, and it is basically short, sharp intakes and exhalations of breath. But we're going to do this again within the belly. So it's a nasal breath. But if you can watch my stomach here, it might even help if I go to the side. So you can see my chest isn't moving really at all. I'm drawing all of the breath in and out by using that diaphragm muscle, and even the Mula Bandh, the root lock, as it were. You're creating a bowl of breath there in the belly. So can we just try that together really quick before we move on? We'll try for about 30 seconds. So if you're sitting down, you can sit in easy pose, which is your legs crossed in front of you. Hands, palms up, just on your knees. And in Kundalini, we do a lot of these exercises with our eyes closed and actually focused on the third eye. So the eyes are up and kind of in, and we're focusing here in the third eye. So try that when you can, but I understand, like, we're going to be moving from exercise to exercise. You may be needing to look at the screen. So sitting in easy pose, spine straight. Give yourself that excuse to be like, what's good posture? What's good posture? Take a nice deep breath. Isolate any tension that you might be feeling in the body. And just welcome it. Don't chastise yourself for having tension in the body at all. Because we're going to get rid of that tension over the course of this practice here. Nice, slow, deep breaths. And let's go ahead and start the breath of fire. So, and relax. Take a big inhale and incorporate that root lock. And even move your neck back and forth. You want to tuck your chin back just a little bit and see if you can start to begin to sense a certain subtle energy moving up the spine. For me, it happens pretty fast, so it's all the way up at the back of my head. It's just like a slight tickle or a heaviness in the spine. And release. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. And root lock. Hold. Eyes up at the third eye. And release. Nice. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to do what's called tuning us in, which is that Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And then I'm going to follow that with Adgare Name. So I will do that. We rub our hands together. You have all these meridian points on the ends of your fingers. And what we're doing is we're just kind of neutralizing that energy, that subtle energy. And as we practice, you may even feel, I know I do, I feel a lot of that subtle energy in my hands. So be aware of that. Hands in prayer position, the thumbs into the sternum here, spine straight, and I'll start. I'm going to inhale and exhale. And I'm going to inhale to begin. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Adgare Name, Jugadgare Name, Satgare Name, Sirigude Deve Name. Adgare Name, Jugadgare Name, Satgare Name, Sirigude Deve Name. Adgare Name, Jugadgare Name, Satgare Name, Sirigude Deve Name. And I'm going to inhale and root lock one more time. Hold and squeeze. Try to keep all the tension out of your face, out of any other part of your body. You're just lifting up, which is going to be a theme, and release. It's going to be a theme throughout the class. It's bringing the energy up from the earth, bringing the energy up the spine, and think of yourself as a fountain of energy, so that just travels up the spinal column and then just releases at the top. Great. Okay, so I'm going to put on some music here. And we're going to do a classic Kundalini. Oh, my speaker shut off. Pardon me. Okay, I'm going to get back on my mat. I need to push this down a bit. We're going to sit in easy pose. So legs crossed in front of us. We're going to hold our ankles. Just so you know, like each one of these exercises will be about 2 minutes as we progress through. This is called the camel ride. And what we're going to do is we're going to flex our spine forward and look up. And then we're going to come back. And it's almost like we're looking at our belly button. So from the side, that's an inhale. This is an exhale. Inhale and exhale. And that's a place where you can start to sat, nam, sat, nam. And make the breath deep, 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 deep. The breath contains prana. Prana, that magnetic life force. So the more you breathe, the more you alkalize the blood, because respiration is the chief alkalizer of our entire system. So the more you breathe deep, the more you alkalize your system, the more prana you receive, the more you expand your lung capacity, etc., etc. The benefits are endless. So take this as an opportunity to really test the limits of your lungs. Push them a little bit farther. And throughout, you may hear me breathing pretty loudly. That's just to give you a guide. Just flexing and bowing the spine. And come back to center, hands out, and deep breath in, and the Mula Bandha, the root lock. So deep breath in, and squeeze. And release. Now, we're going to go into something called the Sufist grind. And what we're doing is we're drawing a circle around our body with our chin. You're going to inhale forward, exhale back. We're really, the camel ride really worked those lower, like the sacrum and the lower vertebrae of the spine. Now we're moving more to the middle part of the spine. We have an amazing amount of toxins that when our lymphatic system, when we sweat, you know, all of those places that we excrete, dead cells, toxins, all that, they get clogged up. And when those toxins can't release, they actually accumulate in the spine. So to stay young, to stay healthy, to stay vibrant, exercise your spine. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. Shh. Shh. Just the movement itself is a kind of meditation. Just close your eyes. Just feel the flow of this movement. And come back to center. And we'll go the other way. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. And come on back to center. Palms up. Inhale. Root lock. And release. Now we're going to target the upper part of the spine, thoracic. We're going to take our hands, fingers in the front of the shoulder, thumb behind the shoulder. Make sure you're not holding tension in your shoulder like this. Sometimes it's better just to do it wrong so that you can release and do it right. And we're going to turn left and inhale, and we're going to turn right and exhale. We're going to tuck our chin just a little bit, so we're looking down just a little bit. And our tempo will be shh, 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 shh. Now we're going to take the hands in Gyan Mudra, that's index fingers touching the thumbs, and we're going to raise those arms ever so much. And you can really notice the difference with how much farther back you can actually turn now, as well as we're working those lymphatic glands under the armpits. We're kind of putting a little pressure on them, as well as totally internally massaging our organs. Shh. 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 And now bring the hands up into prayer pose above your head. Stretch, stretch, stretch all the way up. And hold the Mula Bandh. Push that energy upward and release. Give yourself some shoulder rolls. Rolling back. And then rolling forward. Now we're going to actually work the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, which sounds like Las Vegas, but it's actually vagus, and it's Latin for essentially the wanderer, the vagabond, because this is the longest nerve in the body. It starts here at the base of the brain. It controls your pupil dilation, jaw tension, throat constriction, heart rate, respiration rate, your digestive functions, everything. Everything is tied to this vagus nerve. So we're going to strengthen it going down through the neck by putting our hands together, locking our hands together, and then bringing our arms up. So my hands are like this and up, and then we're going to, it's hard for me to talk and do this at the same time. Lean the head back, and then we're going to stick out our tongue. And just breathe deep here. We're going to take about 10 deep breaths here. Now turn to the left with your head back still. A couple deep breaths here. Tongue out. And turn to the right. Same thing. And release those arms. Let's just do some nice light neck rolls. So starting here, just whatever's good for you. As with anything else, especially in this format, I don't get to have a conversation with you about like, oh, I had surgery on my neck. So please, please, no pain, but we're going to push. We're going to push through what we think is our exhaustion threshold. But if you have a bad shoulder, if you have a bad knee, you have, a bad hip or something, please monitor yourself through this practice. And bring the head to center, and we'll do a couple neck rolls the other way. You can inhale when your head's down. Exhale when it's back. And come back to center. Let's just shrug our shoulders up and down. And relax. Hands, palms up, and deep breath. Root lock. And release. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. And root lock. And release. If you want to drink a water or something, now's a good time to grab one. We're going to go pretty hard for the next 10 to 15 minutes into, this was the warm-up, and now we're actually getting into the Kriya for the root chakra, for the Muladhara. And it's going to be, we're going to sweat a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spread our legs wide, whatever's available to you. And we're going to take our hands up and just exhale over the left leg. Inhale, stretch over the right leg in your own time. It's called the life nerve stretch.
We got this, we're really engaging the sciatic nerve right now, which as you get older and the spine starts to compress around the sciatic, you should get a lot of pain with your hips and legs. This is a beautiful way in terms of a daily stretch to just keep that synovial fluid, the fluid between the vertebrae, the fluid that's in our joints, to keep it at a healthy functioning level. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And now come to the center. Grab your toes, your thighs, your whatever's available to you. But what we're going to do is we're going to put our head down, and then we're going to inhale up, exhale down. And come back to center. Easy pose. Hula band. Inhale. Squeeze. Release all the tension in the face, the arms, the hands, the hips. And release. Now, this next exercise, if you have compromised knees, if your knees are a concern for you, I want you to just keep your legs out for this next exercise. And it's basically going up and down this way. For those of you who feel comfortable doing it, what we're going to do is actually sit on our left heel. Right leg is extended. And we're going to inhale up and then exhale down. And I want to change the music for this one. We're going to pick up the pace now. Okay. Inhale up and exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. You can even think of, in terms of your vocal technique, think of yourself like an accordion as you go down, and let the diaphragm and the belly contract and really push the air out. And come up, and we're going to reverse. So we're going to sit on our right heel now. And continue. 2, 3, 4. legs forward. We're just going to come into a nice long leg stretch with deep breath. We're going to hold this for about 30 seconds. Long, deep breathing. Okay, and come on up out of that. Now we're going to lie down. We're going to just touch our toes from this position. Same thing. Exhale. Pick this one up a bit. Now's the point where you may begin to start feeling a little burn. Push through. Once you push through that threshold, there's an incredible release of endorphins into the system. And go ahead and relax back down. Now we're going to bring the knees up. Go ahead and give yourself a nice hug around the knees. Wiggle your spine back and forth. And this movement is, we're going to be putting the legs down and touching. And then bringing the knees back up. Release. Now this next one, very careful. What we're going to be doing is a plow pose. We're putting our legs and our feet over and above us, and then folding back down into a forward bend. So look behind you. First off, make sure you're not going to kick anything with your feet. And also just be careful if you have any neck issues, shoulder issues. If you need to just come back to doing a forward bend like this, yeah? So this is what this looks like. We're gonna inhale back, exhale forward. Inhale back. Shh. 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 About 15 more seconds. One more. And just bring your legs back into easy pose. Oh, good job, good job. Hands open, palms up. Inhale, squeeze the mula band, and hold. And release. Good time for a drink of water. Now we're going to stand up a little bit, or kind of squat a bit. The first exercise we're going to do is called the frog. And so how we do this is we bring our ankles together. Yeah. Whoa. Keep your balance though. And we're going to raise up, keeping our heels off the ground, looking downward. And then we're going to return to this pose right here, looking forward. So that whole movement looks like this. Inhale up, exhale down. We're going to do 26 of these. You can even envision raising the energy up from the earth with each one of these sets. And when you're finished, just drop yourself into a forward bend. You don't have to really stretch, just allow yourself to just lean over. And to add insult to injury, get your legs, wider than shoulder width apart. Then we're going to hold our ankles with our hand. Kind of look like this here. And we're going to inhale left, exhale right. So inhale, exhale. We can go faster with this one. 1, 2, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Hang in there, just about 20 more seconds. And release. Go ahead and just allow yourself that forward bend again. Just hang. come to a squat. Finding this position is actually really important, because if you actually balance yourself the right way, there's not a lot of energy strain in this position. But if you don't do it very often, you're gonna feel the exhaustion from it. We're gonna take our hands and point forward, and looking at the tips of your index fingers, we're going to do breath of fire, so that you should be able to feel your belly really pressing against your thighs in this movement. Twenty more seconds. And release. Come back up. Allow yourself to just fall over your legs, wiggle your spine. Let your neck hang. Well, we got just a couple more exercises I'm going to actually move this up. We're going to be standing up just for these next few. Now bring your hips about shoulder width apart, your feet about shoulder width apart. Hands in prayer pose, but bring your elbows, very important, bring your elbows together as well. And we're going to inhale up, exhale down. So again, imagining that fountain of energy moving up. You're just helping bring energy from the earth, from the spine, upward. 20 more seconds. Last one. And come back up. Shake that tension out. Now we'll go straight into archer pose, which is warrior 2. So the right foot, just so you can see my foot position. Right foot is out at 90 degrees. Left foot is back at 45 degrees. And then from here, bending that right knee, but keeping the weight over the left leg. And then from here, thumbs up, archer pose, like you're drawing back a bow, looking at your right thumb. Take some deep breaths. And start the breath of fire. And bring the arms up, and we're going to switch sides. Left foot is out at 90 degrees, right foot's back at 45 degrees, straight, bringing the weight over the right leg, and draw the bow, look at the thumb, take a couple deep breaths here. And start the breath of fire. And relax down. Okay. Drink of water's well deserved at this point. We're going to come back down to the floor now. Woo! That really gets your thighs, your butt, and actually up in here too. If you notice the pressure that's happening back here in your kidneys, it's actually putting pressure on your adrenal glands as well, and telling your adrenal glands to stop. Like, got enough adrenaline. So it helps those to relax as well. Oh. Okay, so I think at this point we're going to bring our legs out again. We're going to put our hands locked behind us. The shoulders are back, and we're going to use har, H-A-R, and if you're able to roll your R's, because what that does, there are 84 reflex points inside the mouth, and so a lot of the chanting and things that we do, the words, these Sanskrit words, the sounds, the vibrations that they create, go directly to the brain. It's like giving our brain a massage internally. So the words are har, which is the creative aspect of the universe. Har, H-A-R, and hari, H-A-R-I, which is the flow of that creativity within the universe. So we're going to bend down and say har, come up, hari, har, hari, har, hari. And then we'll add the center in just a moment. So, ready, and go. Har, hari, 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 har. Really trying to lift those arms up behind you with each forward bend. har, hare, har, hare, har, hare, har, hare, har, hare, har, hare. Now let's add in the center. So har, hare, 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 har, hare. Last set. Har, hare, har, hare, har, hare. Now with our legs still out like this, take our hands in prayer position above our head, and we're going to mentally vibrate har, hare. We're not going to say it. We're going to turn left and right. So har, hare, in your mind. You can inhale left, exhale right. Shh. Shh. 30 more seconds up here. And release. And shake those hands, those arms out. Go ahead and bring yourself back into easy pose. Palms up. Inhale. Root lock. Do that one more time. Inhale and root lock. And at this point too, you tuck your chin ever so much. What you do is you actually straighten the spine even more. This is Jalandhar Bandha. Jalandhar Bandha. And release. Grab a drink of water, you deserved it. That's the end of the heavy part. So now we're going to move into a really special mantra in meditation. It's called the Kirtan Kriya, K-I-R-T-A-N, Kriya, K-R-I-Y-A. And this has actually been studied scientifically, especially on patients that have diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's. And they noted a drastic increase of the flow of blood into the brain, especially into the memory centers, with this particular mantra. So the words are Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, and it's the cycle of life. Sa is the infinity, Ta is life, Na is death, and Ma is birth or rebirth. Ma, right? It's such a universal word. So Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. We're going to be sitting in easy pose during this. If you need a bolster, some sort of pillow or something, if your back starts to tighten up on you or whatever, take a moment and grab something maybe to sit on if that would be helpful to you. Sometimes I know it's helpful for me, so I'm going to do it now actually.
And what we're going to do is, so not only will we be chanting and singing this mantra, we're going to be using mudras. Mudras are when you use your fingers, when you're making contact with the fingers. So Gyan mudra, which is the one you hear the most, which is the index finger touching the thumb. The thumb represents the self or the ego. In this instance, Gyan represents Jupiter and wisdom. So when we touch those two together, what we're asking for is inner wisdom, to have access to inner wisdom. Saturn is the middle finger, and that is for patience. The sun, Surya, is the ring finger, that's for energy. And Mercury is with the Buddhi mudra, which is all about communication. So you have wisdom, patience, energy, communication. And we're going to, as we say Satanama, we're going to go Sa with the index finger, Ta with the middle finger, Na with the ring finger, and Ma with the pinky finger there. So Sa, can't really see it right now, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Satanama, Satanama. Now, I'm going to give you something else to do as well, which is we're going to have our eyes closed, focused on the third eye. And if you're able, I know I have problems with visualization a lot of time, but if you can see almost like a placards or a PowerPoint presentation, every time you say sa, see the word sa in your mind's eye, ta, new slide, na, new slide, ma, over and over again. Or if you are really good with visualization, you can envision a column of white light entering the top of your head, of your skull, and then coming out through the third eye. So it's this white light traveling through in an L shape that way. Sa, ta, na, ma. Seeing Satanama, or the white light, as well as in this meditation, the first 2 minutes we'll sing. The second 2 minutes, we're going to actually whisper Sa, ta, na, ma. Then for 3 minutes, we're just going to mentally vibrate Satanama. Then we'll come out for 2 minutes of whispering and then 2 more minutes of singing. And what that represents is the conscious voice delving into the intuitive voice, into the universal voice, or the voice of God, however you choose to connect with that. And then we come back out to the intuitive internal voice, and then out to the conscious voice of singing. Okay, so this is 11 minutes. And then when we're done with this, we're going to just go into some deep relaxation. I'm going to play this crystal bowl, actually, that's behind me. I'm going to play this for you while you relax in Shavasana. And then we'll be done, and we can go into Q&A. Okay, here we go. So eyes closed, focused on the third eye. Sa, ta, na, ma. Satanama, 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 Satanama,
Sadhana, 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 And just relax. And go ahead and just lie back, just lie down, Shavasana pose. So legs, feet are about 8 to 12 inches apart, and just let them slowly, easily fall open. Shoulder blades pinched into the back. Lift yourself up, and then just relax down. Tucking the chin just a little bit to elongate the spine. And just breathe, breathe, breathe deep.
F stands for going beyond. F stands for going beyond the limitations of fear. Today, I will let go of all fear. I will realize that fear comes from my self-image and not myself. My ego is an image that I have created. By letting go of my ego, I will embrace the truth inside me, which is fearless. Ego, E-G-O, is just another word for edging God out. Whenever my ego overshadows my spirit, it creates tightness in my body. I will witness this sensation of fear by feeling it, and then I will take the courageous step to do the very thing I fear. I will not fight my ego, I will witness it. This is the highest form of human intelligence, to observe yourself without judgment. Today, I will observe my fear, and my witnessing of it will transform it into love.
And gently start wiggling your fingers, toes, one side, the other side. Bring your right leg up, grab at the knee, the ankle, bring your head up, just give yourself a good stretch. And then bring the right knee, or the right ankle onto the left knee, and pull your knee toward you. And let the right leg down, bring the left leg up. And left ankle onto the right knee. Then bring both knees up to the chest. Give yourself a hug, wiggle your spine. And then you can lay the knees over to the left side, stretching over to the right. And then reverse. Legs over to the right, stretching over to the left. And then just grab your feet, just rock back and forth on your spine. And roll yourself back up into a seated pose. And we're going to tune out, just like we tuned in at the beginning of the session, we're going to tune out with Sat Nam, S-A-T-N-A-M. It's a long Sat and a short Nam. Truth is my name. Truth is my identity. We're going to go ahead and rub our hands together one more time. We're going to bring our hands into prayer pose here at the sternum. And inhale and exhale. And we'll inhale to begin. Nam.
Universal light to all in this world, universal peace to all in this world, and love to all life. Satnam, thank you. And that concludes your Kundalini session. Thank you.
To say it was amazing is a bit ridiculously obvious. I'm going to be quiet and let them process and ask you questions.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank you for it. I did more observing than satnaming. But it's the kind of training that we conduct each summer. We'll have a long movement day, and this is very much in the spirit of that work, alternating longer classes for movement and voice, and then kind of consistent length classes for text, voice, text, and movement, the first 3 weeks of the apprentices training with us each summer with the Notre Dame Shakespeare Festival. So that's all I wanted to say. That was terrific. Let me be quiet and open it up to you guys to ask questions. Just turn on your own microphones, please, when you'd like.
Yeah, this is a free for
There's
all.
Kendra.
Yeah, go for it.
So how have you found that Kundalini has helped you acting wise? I know you talked a little bit about how it kind of deals more with the well-being of an actor, because oftentimes we don't focus on that, like the mental and physical and emotional, like personal, aside from the work that we're doing. So how have you found that it's like helped you release some of that tension and perhaps anxiety that you feel when you're playing certain characters or dealing with certain projects?
Sure. So I think because you touched on it with well-being, but also personal agency, feeling in control of that journey, whatever that is. Is it on my face? No, okay, it's just a light. Sorry, I was like, I had a huge white streak down my face. So this idea of personal agency is something that we don't speak a lot about in the acting studio, and we should, because you need to be entering into your performance on your own terms, not on someone else's. And by incorporating, for me, Kundalini, but it could be any sort of flow practice. I go for a long bike ride or something before a show, or I just meditate, or anything that helps you to get into your own zone, not to be cliche about it, but anything that helps you to expand your own power within both your training and within performance itself. So that if you're in a show that is like traumatizing, to your character as well as to you as an actor, you need to have some sort of therapy every day. And first off, the acting studio is not a therapy session, right? Everybody should have a therapist, and that's just good life practice, right? We don't go and just have our catharsis in the acting studio, because that leads to really dangerous practices, both for yourself and for your acting partners as well. But this idea of strengthening the immune system, strengthening the nervous system, finding the power of the exhale to relax the system, finding those moments of peace before you go into a re-traumatizing situation on stage is essential. Sometimes I equate it to and not even necessarily just for performance, but for life. I look at yoga and Kundalini in particular as a spiritual shoe shine. It's as if you're going to walk out your door every day and there's a mud puddle. There's a mud puddle, big, nasty mud puddle in front of your front door. and you're going to step in it no matter what. There's no way to get around it, right? So after a while, your shoes just get coated with mud to the point where it's like you're wearing bricks on your feet, right? So if you don't take the time every day to just wipe off that residue, trapped by this brick of anxiety, of social media, of the practice, whatever it is you're doing on stage that's kind of messing you up inside every day. So well-being, personal agency, just overall health, I think, as well as you might have noticed, like in some of these mantras and things, and that's why I dropped the packet to you as well, because Ekankar really, really helps you to understand the limitations of your lungs, and then realize, oh wait, maybe that isn't the limitations of my lungs. I can go a little bit farther. So you actually start to expand your physical technique within these as well. Not to mention the flexibility and body awareness that happens within this practice really helps you approach character as well too. You just get this better sense of what my body can and can't do in these little parts of my spine if I wanted to just insert a little character into something. So I think for me, it's holistic. It fixes my brain. It keeps me well. It gives me insights into character. It helps me be able to walk out into an amphitheater and throw some Shakespeare at 2,000 people without a mic, So yeah, long-winded answer, I think.
Perfect. I got it totally.
Nice.
We have some of those amphitheaters next summer.
Yeah, when you're doing outdoor shows, like I can't tell you, like that pelvic floor, having that to bounce the air off of, as well as just a contraction this way with your diaphragm, but actually having it like this. The ease with which you can perform in outdoor spaces is incredible. Just because the support, as a lot of you guys know that have taken voice, it's all about, it's not volume, it's support. That's what carries. So this gives you an even greater degree of control over that support.
I have a very specific question.
Go for it. I'll try to be specific in my answer.
All right. I a lot of times have trouble discerning between my root chakra and my sacral chakra, and then that often manifests like when I'm trying to like do the root lock that we were trying today. I'll end up flexing like around my lower abdomen too, like everything gets taut, and then that also makes it difficult for me to like sit cross-legged without like bending back because it's like stuck in my back. Do you have ideas about discerning between any two chakras? Yeah.
Well, first, the chakras, especially the first 5, are assigned earthly elements. So it goes earth, water, fire, air, ether. So if you think about the root chakra being that grounding, that hard grounding to the earth, and then the second chakra being more fluid, that might help you in terms of and we all sense things differently. So it's problematic to say like, well, you might feel or you might sense, but that idea of one being heavy and grounded and the second being fluid and a little bit lighter in the sacral chakra might help. But when you're doing the root lock, it takes like your abdominal muscles that are below your navel, So that's part of it. You can't, it's very difficult just to do it and not actually contract those lower abdominal muscles too. If we had more time, I would talk about the Mala Bandha, which is the grand lock, which incorporates not just the Mula Bandha down here, but you're actually the Uddiyana, the diaphragm lock, as well as your neck. So you're kind of like pushing your spine straight up. And maybe as an image, that might help you to think about when I'm contracting these muscles, I'm doing it to make my spine straighter, not to bow it, not to be like a bodybuilder like this. It actually, my chest comes out a little bit, my neck, my chin goes back. I'm exaggerating right now. But when you adopt that very erect spine that way, the muscles and those contractions start to kind of fall into place a little bit easier. Is that helpful?
Pausing to allow thought.
No, that's great. Sometimes if there's no silence, there's no questions. So.
Well, and of course, these folks will be able to access, through other communication channels and be able to respond back to you for that as well. And you at home can do the same thing if you would like to. You can post questions either in the comments field, or you can find us via the Facebook page or shakespeare.nd.edu. Also coming up in this series, a reading of Coriolanus by the Not So Royal Shakespeare Company. It's a student-run company here at the University of Notre Dame. Very much looking forward to that. It will feature some alums of that program from a fair bit back. They're very much looking forward to that. And then, so too, we'll have a panel of scholars here from the University of Notre Dame, the Early Modern Circle of graduate students, possibly with a special guest or two. And that's coming up also in the days and weeks to come. So I really wanted to thank all of you for joining us for this class with Scott Jackson. And of course, Scott, thank you again for leading it. I hope worthwhile, guys. We'll have some more of this work. I think you'll see as you come back. And if you maybe have seen it before, I hope it's the kind of thing that you enjoy delving into. It's a terrific bedrock and a touchstone to which you can return again and again, holistically, as Scott says. Pending any other questions? Great. I'll say thank you and good night to everybody, and hope to see you again next time.
Sat Nam, everyone.
Sat Nam.